boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Hallmark Cocktail. And as always, this is the featured cocktail in today's episode. I'm going to start with a shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add brandy. 1 1/2 ounces brandy. Next, Elderflower liqueur, 1/2 ounce. White creme de cacao, another 1/2 ounce. One 1/2 ounce freshly squeezed lemon juice from the plastic lemon. Then we shake. Next, we're going to take our cocktail glass, which we rimmed with sugar beforehand. We're going to strain the cocktail in there. And then we top with sparkling wine. 1 to 2 ounces. Did you hear that fizz, boys and girls? There you have it, the Hallmark Cocktail. Yeah, not bad. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
If you're like me, and I know you are, when you think of the Hallmark Channel, you think of Greg, my co-host here at the Scary Spirits podcast. And this week's episode, Splinter, just proves my point. Okay, maybe Greg just has a teeny tiny infatuation with Jill Wagner, a Hallmark movie actress who also happens to star in this week's movie. A movie with many lessons, but mainly, don't pick up strangers. And even not real doctors with PhDs can be helpful in very stressful situations. In the end, Splinter is an intense, dark, moody movie with a heart of gold. Just like Greg. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different but highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I'm good, Karen. It's a new year, Karen. It's a new year.
I'm even more delightful.
You are.
Yeah, I've been working on it.
We're like a week in now, right?
I know, right? No, nobody's quit quite yet. Isn't there's an official quit day? It's like the second
Yeah.
Friday or something. So I'm still in the delightfulness era.
All right. Good for you, Karen. Go with your
You're
strengths.
welcome. You're welcome. Because once that Friday hits, it's all over.
So that would be
I think I heard it on, I can't remember where, but I think there's an official quit day for New Year's resolutions.
no, so the second Friday would be this coming Friday, Karen.
TikTok.
If that's what it is. All right, Karen, was this my choice?
It was.
Film I have chosen is from 2008. It is called Splinter.
Why did you choose this one, Greg?
Well, Karen, this episode comes out on January the 8th, and the star of the movie, Jill Wagner, was born on January 13th, 1979.
Do you have a drink to go with it?
I do as well, yes. The drink I've chosen is called the Hallmark Cocktail, Karen.
Yeah, you're going to have to explain that one to me. Somehow I missed it.
Well, Karen, do you know who Jill Wagner is? You recognize her at all?
Not really, no.
Okay. I first became aware of Jill Wagner back in the mid 2000s, I guess, 2005, 2006, maybe. She started doing Lincoln Mercury commercials. And I saw it. I'm like, who is that girl? I found out it was Jill Wagner. She also, after doing commercials, she was in like Punk'd and a bunch of other like TV shows, like MTV TV shows and whatnot. And
Did she end up on the Hallmark Channel? Is that where
she
you're going?
did, Karen.
Okay.
Since 2015, she has appeared in Hallmark Channel made for television films. See, way back when, she used to be Miss Mercury, or the Mercury chick, or something like that, what they called her. Yeah, the Mercury chick. But now she's known as Miss Hallmark. So, hence
Okay.
our Hallmark cocktail. So it's all about Jill Wagner, Karen. All about Jill. Would you like to know how to make the Hallmark cocktail?
Absolutely.
So we're going to need raw sugar for decorating our glass, rimming our glass, basically. We're going to need 1.5 ounces of brandy, a half an ounce of Saint Germain Elderflower liqueur, half an ounce of white creme de cacao, half an ounce freshly squeezed lemon juice from the plastic lemon, and 1 to 2 ounces of sparkling wine. We're going to rim our glass with, it says lemon. I used simple syrup. And then you dip it in the sugar to rim your glass with sugar. Then we're going to add the brandy, elderflower liqueur, white creme de cacao, and lemon juice to a cocktail shaker filled with, it says crushed ice. I used to use regular ice because we're going to shake hard. Then we're going to strain it, Karen. So I don't know why it had to be crushed ice. We're going to strain it into our prepared sugar-rimmed glass. Then we're going to top the cocktail with a float of sparkling wine and serve right away.
So do you get all wine on the first sip?
It's very winey. It is sparkling wine, but there's lemon. You get the lemon. Not really getting the chocolate from the white creme de cacao, but that's pretty good.
Well, my white wine was evaporated without my knowledge.
Your sparkling wine.
Yes.
Remember last week, Karen, I told you I capped my bottle off last time we used it?
Yes.
Perfection, Karen. I popped it and it went.
Oh, that's right. You cap it because you make your own
Yes.
beer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used my bottle capper and capped it
Yeah.
off. And
So I'm impressed.
it fizzed when I opened it. So I capped it again. We'll see what happens next time.
Excellent.
Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own Hallmark
Of course.
cocktail? I'm very sad that you weren't able to make it, Karen.
We're not going to talk about it. Because I'm working on being delightful. We're just going to let it go.
Okay. Go make your own Hallmark cocktail. Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Karen, might you have a brief synopsis for us?
I do.
Go on. Tell us all the story.
When their plans for a nature trip go awry, Polly and boyfriend Seth decide to check into a motel. On their way, they're carjacked and kidnapped by low rent crooks Dennis and Lacey, who take the victims and their SUV to a nearby gas station. Along the way, they encounter an increasingly terrifying horde of parasites, and if any of them intend to survive, they'll have to outsmart the deadly organism.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match. I didn't realize they were boyfriend and girlfriend. I guess I kind of did, but whatever. I was thinking they were married or something.
You're just mad because Jill has a boyfriend.
Well, now she's got a husband and some kids, Karen. So,
Well, not in the movie.
true that.
You did a deep dive. I wonder what my friend Jill's doing now.
All right, Karen, tell us everything you really enjoyed in this film. Anything you really enjoyed, anything you liked, anything that's jumped out at you?
I really liked it. I thought
Did
it
you like
was
all the science?
yeah, well, sort of, yeah. I did I thought it was intense almost from start to finish. It never really let up, and it's one of the few films where I think it could have been longer. I mean, it's a very small cast. It's a very intellectual, intense situation. The acting is really good, I think. One of the characters is going for their PhD, which in biology, and they do call him not a real doctor, which we get all the time. And they do make fun of him for not being manly enough because he's too intellectual and all those things. And there's a couple jokes in there, which is actually kind of true to form. It's really good. I've never heard of it. And I was thinking, oh God, there's enough of the gore and to make it a horror film, but it's really about what would you do in such an intense situation, and could you think on your feet and all those things. And I think it's just an excellent film. I enjoyed it a lot. What about you? Besides Jill, what did you like?
So I wrote, there's good acting. Everyone's really good, I think. There's good special effects. It's very suspenseful, which I like. It kept me on the edge of my seat. The soundtrack is really good.
I didn't really notice that,
Yeah,
but
the
okay.
music, I mean, there's not really songs and things, but the music and the soundtrack it adds to the suspense of the film, I think. I think it's just the right length. I didn't think it needed to be too any longer or any shorter, really. And it kind of feels like one long shot to me. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, it
almost got
does.
that, because there's lots of time where there is no music, which is probably why you don't really notice it, because we're focused on what's happening on screen and whatnot, and it's silent for a lot of the time. But when there is music, it's very good.
It has my favorite kind of sequel ending.
It does.
That's the best. And I love that about it too.
I remember seeing, I think, commercials for it way back in 2008. Can you believe that, Karen? Maybe because I saw Jill Wagner's name on it or saw her. I'm
Maybe.
like, oh,
So
Jill
you
Wagner's
haven't
in
seen
this.
it before, even though she was
No.
in it?
This is the first time I've seen it. Anything else you really enjoyed?
I think it was impressive how the actors held their own. Like you said, it felt like a single shot. So they are in the entire movie,
Mm-hmm.
from start to finish, almost. Well, the Jill and her boyfriend for sure, and then the others join. So it's very.
I mean, but they're in it right almost from the beginning too.
Yes, but I just usually you get a break from actors, you move around, but this was basically one. It doesn't feel low budget necessarily, but they just did such a good job of interacting together and establishing those relationships and having to trust someone you don't want to trust. I mean, there's a lot of interpersonal stuff going on while the chaos is happening. And I think they just did a really good job with that.
It put me in the mind of John Carpenter's The Thing at times. And of course, Maximum Overdrive, because they're stuck in a gas station.
It's just a testament to their acting and their ability to act as a group, that they can hold your interest in the tiny little, the setting never really changes, nothing really changes. So they really keep you interested the whole time without really anything new happening. The same things kind of happen over and over. You're not surprised at each limb doesn't grow a new body or so, they're not multiplying necessarily at an exponential rate or anything. So they're keeping your interest the entire time with the horror aspect, but also with how they interact with each other. I just thought it was really well done.
Anything you didn't really particularly care for, Karen?
There's a lot of choppy camera work on purpose. It was a style that I couldn't sometimes tell what was happening. It was so fast. And partly, I think it was to elevate the special effects. And I get that, but there were a couple times like, what happened? And I went back and I still couldn't tell what happened exactly, which I think, again, is part of the style, but I didn't care for that because I felt a little frustrated. Like, I don't know what's happening here. And it usually had to do with the special effects. I think it could have been a little longer in that at the beginning or the end, we would find out. We do see one small sign about experimentation, but I think it could have had, I don't know, 5 minutes or so of what is this? Is this a military thing? Is it going to be for warfare? Is it a lab work gone wrong? Like where did it come from? What was the purpose? And then why is it happening? Kind of thing. But that's just my own curiosity. But I would have liked that more, just with a little background of what was happening. There's a few inconsistencies. I don't know if I noted them or not, but it's very well done. But there are a couple of things that don't make sense. What about you? You got anything?
Choppiness didn't bother me. Like I said, it has good special effects, and I think the reason they are good is because you don't get a very long look at them. You know what I mean? Very choppy, and it's like chaotic, the creature and whatnot.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell, was it rebuilding, not to give spoilers away, but was it rebuilding the bodies it came from, or was it putting bodies together? Like I couldn't tell, and I would have liked to known the answer to that, those kind of questions, like what exactly is happening, so that I could figure out, not the science, but I just wanted to know, and I couldn't tell. I think it was effective for its purpose, but I would have liked to have seen more completion of what was happening.
Dialogue is a little cheesy at times. The story is as well, I think. It's a little cheesy at times.
Yeah, they do.
And I don't know if they're trying to work in some comic relief or not, but it's just, I was like, okay.
They do an arc very quickly for the bad guy.
Yes.
But it's a shorter move. That's why I say it could have been longer. You could have gotten, there would have been less cheese if there would have been a little bit more
character development.
Yeah, something like that. Because he goes from this horrible person to basically this really great person in what, half an hour or something. I don't know.
Well, which, Karen, Lucifer is just an angel led astray.
I thought you were going to just say, well, that's the effect Jill has on people.
Well, she is Miss Hallmark.
But yeah, I think comic relief or something. They always have that in the movies when you're about to die and you make a joke. I don't think I would make a joke, but I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
It does interrupt the intensity.
It does, and it makes it, okay, this isn't real anymore. And also, I thought they were all a little too calm in the very beginning when they were being kidnapped, basically. I'm not sure Jill would react that way in real life, but maybe she would. I don't know.
It's hard to say what you would do.
You don't know until you're in a predicament, and hopefully none of us ever will be. But yeah, that's all that bothered me. Anything else for you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Science was good enough for you? You didn't?
Well, superficial. So, I mean, there's not even anything I could look up really.
Yeah, true. True.
They were vague enough that
I guess it's possible. I mean, it's a new thing. It's possible. Something new.
that's why by not giving any background, no one can say it was terrible because there isn't really anything that they said or did. Nobody knows what it is. So,
Okay. Would you like to hear a review from the time, Karen?
absolutely.
First, I have to tell you, this has a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 76% on Rotten Tomatoes. But what do you think Google users think, Karen?
84.
Ah, so close. 82%,
Oh, I
Karen.
went
82.
over.
82. You're a little high once again.
Well,
The
now that I'm extra delightful, I'm an optimist.
review I have is from New York Magazine by David Edelstein, I think is how you pronounce his name, dated October 24th, 2008.
So we got a preview.
He did. Splinter is a hackneyed gimmick dead bodies trying to smash their way into an isolated convenience store. But I love it to pieces. Scuttling hands, marauding legs, spinning torsos. The source of the mayhem is a parasitic fungus that uses splinters, although they're more like quills, to puncture anything with blood in its veins. The bodies are reanimated, whatever their yucko condition. The English director, Toby Wilkins, has a long career in special effects and knows how to shoot them. Tight. The victims' bodies twisting furiously to avoid contact. The rest of the time, he has a visual sense of menace. The store, with its short aisles and sharp corners, becomes a terrifying obstacle course. Best of all, the film has real dramatic tension and a first-rate cast. It begins with a nerdy, but not too nerdy, biologist, Paul Constanzo, who plays Seth, his brainy Nacha girlfriend, who is Jill Wagner, even though he doesn't credit Jill Wagner in his review, getting carjacked by an escaped convict, the charismatic Shea Wiggum. That is Dennis. He calls Shea Wiggum charismatic. He doesn't mention Jill at all. And his delusional drug-addicted girlfriend, Rachel Curbs, who plays Lacey. The threat is from without and within. That sounds just like John Carpenter would. The result, however cliched, is spectacularly unnerving. Hair trigger horror.
That was rude. He didn't mention her.
I know. He mentioned everyone else except for the sheriff.
Well, and the kid at the beginning.
I guess that's Blake because he's the only other person listed as having a character. So, yeah. All right, Karen, what kind of cocktail rating do you want to give this film from 2008 starring the lovely Jill Wagner?
I think I'd give it a 2.
Okay. I'm okay.
I think it's a lot better than some of the 3s that we've seen.
I'm okay with that, but I'm sure I could look through my notes and find some pretty good movies we gave 3s to, but I'm fine. I'm fine with
Well,
that.
I think it's a low 2 or a high 3. So I'd give it a 2.5, but we don't do that. So
We've been giving lots of movies 3s lately. It's good to mix it up a little bit.
well, I think it's different. I think most people who watch it will enjoy it. It's not niche, it's definitely horror. And it's something I think I would recommend to other people. So I'm comfortable with 2.
Okay. I am as well. Are you ready to get into it scene by scene?
Yes, let's do it.
Did you watch this on Amazon Prime, Karen?
I did.
Did you pay $3.99 for the high definition or did you pay $2.99 for the standard?
I paid $2.99.
I did as well. Splinter from 2008. It's rated R for flashing lights, Karen. Flashing lights. Violence, frightening scenes, substance use, even though we don't really see any of it, foul language, and sexual content, even though we don't see any of that either. We see more smoking than we see sexual content.
True.
There's innuendo in it, but I mean, she does say they're going to have sex once.
I bet that doesn't happen on the Hallmark Channel.
Camping underneath the stars. Anniversary sex, Karen. All right. Film opens and we see a gas station and we have credits. And a guy who we assume, or I assume, is the gas station attendant or whatever, he's eating potato chips. It's Cape
Yes,
Cod. Aren't they Cape Cods?
they are Cape Cod potato chips. So,
That product placement, Karen.
might be.
I mean, we
But
both
Steve,
noticed it.
well, I know. He's also wearing an I Love Bikinis ball cap, but
He is.
Steve and Jude Bernard started the company of Cape Cod potato chips in Hyannis, Massachusetts, after Steve tasted a natural potato chip from a Hawaiian company.
So you're saying he's a mass hole?
They bought an 800 square foot storefront and an industrial potato slicer, and their chips quickly became a local favorite. But Greg, the first year was lean. But a car crash through their storefront window helped keep them afloat. The publicity from the accident increased awareness of the brand and led to a substantial increase in sales. The brothers sold the company to Anheuser-Busch in 1985. So it was started in 1980. I should have said that. But Steve repurchased it in 1996.
Good for him.
And he sold it again in 1999 to Lance Incorporated, and the company has since been owned by the Campbell Soup Company.
Okay, I'm fine with that. As long as Anheuser-Busch doesn't own it, it's good with me.
Well, they don't own it anymore.
Good. So basically, there's no such thing as bad publicity, Karen. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, this sucks. Please let a car crash. Please let a car crash.
We'll be on the news. So anyway, he's eating his potato chips, sitting on a chair outside, enjoying the, I don't know. I don't even know where they are.
The middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It pretty much seems like that's part of the whole, I think, atmosphere is there's nobody coming into the gas station. So he's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Then he hears something in the grass behind him. I wrote, is there a critter behind him? And he goes to investigate. Next thing I have is he's attacked by a raccoon, question mark.
Well, I said it's probably a porcupine because the thing's called Splinter. So I was thinking the quills.
Look at
but
you,
they
Karen.
do an interesting way of doing the credits. So you see a scene of this guy, kid, whatever, eating his chips. Then there's a few more credits. Then you see another shot of him walking towards the grass and a few more credits. And so they're splicing, they're getting you ready for that chaotic camera work that's coming.
Then we have more credits, and I wrote, Mark Cuban, executive producer. Did you see that?
I did not.
You think it's the Mark Cuban?
I don't know.
Probably is. Then we see car. It's a Subaru, I think, of some sort. Although it looks more like a Ford. But I think it has a Subaru emblem on it. But driving down the road, and they pass a sign that says, keep out. Midstate Oil Incorporated, experimental extraction field site. Then there says something at the very bottom about, providing energy for whatever, since, I don't know, something. Then we see who we learn is Polly and Seth camping.
Well, they get to a campsite.
Yeah, it's their campsite. And they begin
They're the ones in the
car.
car, so they're driving to their campsite.
Apparently, Polly is a very outdoorsy kind of girl. She's played by Jill Wagner. And she likes to camp, Karen. And Seth, not so much.
No, he keeps wanting to go to a motel.
But they kissy face.
Yeah, they're in love.
She convinces him to camp. Next, we cut to who we learn is Dennis and Lacey, and their trucks broke down, Karen. It overheated, it looks like, and there's a lot of history of that in this film, too. A lot of overheating vehicles. Cut back to Polly and Seth putting up a tent, and they're celebrating their anniversary by camping. So it must be I think it's the anniversary when they moved in together, because we do learn that they were living together at some point.
Yeah, they're not married. Do you think the truck overheated because they hit something? No,
I don't know.
They're pretty close to where we're.
I have no idea. I didn't really think that at all, but I just think they stole a truck and it's a piece of shit and it overheated.
Okay.
That's what I thought. So then Seth, as they're trying to put the tent up, he breaks one of the poles of the tent. So they're trying
to put up the tent. So first you see how lovey they are. They're like, oh, we're going to have anniversary sex under the stars, blah, blah, blah. And then when they're trying to put the tent together, they get all cranky with each other because it's one of those old tents. It's not a pop-up tent. It is putting, 16 poles in and all that crap. And so because it's not going well, they start to snipe at each other a little bit, which is kind of funny, I thought.
So they decide to go to a motel since Seth accidentally broke the tent
I thought
poles.
it ripped the tent when they put it
I
up.
don't know. It sounded like he broke the pole. They didn't really show it, but it's what it sounded like. Then we cut to Dennis and Lacey in their truck, and they're ditching all their stuff. They ditch their bags and they put the truck in neutral, and Dennis pushes it into the woods. Something not right about them, Karen. I think they're on the run
Yes, it does. And she seems very high, for lack of a better term. She's not with it.
or with withdrawing. She kind of got the shakes. So then we cut to back to Seth and Polly, and Polly is talking about the forest and how old the trees are. So we learn right away that
Seth is talking about the forest and how old the trees are.
yes, we learn right away that he's got lots of book learning and he does lots of reading,
Yes.
apparently. So then they're driving along to go to the hotel or motel or whatever it is, wherever they're going, and Lacey flags them down. They stop the car and they try to decide what to do because they go past her and they decide, should we back up? But, by then it's too late. Dennis is right outside the window with the gun, and he basically carjacks and kidnaps them.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't leave them behind. Because Lacey was saying, you're changing the plan. You said
It's
no
true.
hostages. And I don't really know why he took them. It
Yeah.
just seemed it's just one of the small, it's not important, but why would he even bother? Just take the car and leave them.
True.
Unless he doesn't want to be recognized, or who knows. I've never been in that situation. So
Yeah, he may need them to like do stuff for him. Like stop at a gas station and get gas. He stays in the car, go in and get this and that. And
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. So then Dennis takes their wallets and cell phones and takes the money from the wallets, and he ditches the phones, put them out the window. Is that what he does?
Yeah. But when they're getting in the car, he wants Seth to drive. And Seth turns out he can't drive a stick. So they're making Seth look very inept with anything but book learning. He doesn't know how to set up the tent. He doesn't realize he needs the hatchet for the wood. He doesn't know how to drive a stick, but he can talk about 400-year-old trees. So they're making him very nerdy.
Then they learn that Seth has a PhD, or they find a student ID, or Dennis does, in his wallet, and immediately Lacey wants to know if he can write scripts.
Yeah, he said he's working on his PhD, which means he's not a doctor yet. And then when she wants him to write prescriptions and he says he can't, and she gets all mad. You're not a real doctor.
Yeah, you're not a real doctor. Can you write scripts, Karen?
No, I cannot.
You're not a real doctor.
I am not.
And he tells him doctor of biology or something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So then they hit something in the road, and Lacey thinks it's her dog, question mark.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. Yes, Ginger. So that's why she's high, I think, or something. But she wants the dog to be okay. And they smashed whatever they hit.
Yeah, and they get a flat. And I'm like, well, why'd they get a flat? But I guess it all makes sense, I guess, since there's the splinters on everything. It might have punctured the tire. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they're all in the tire. We see that.
Yeah, I know. We see that. So then Polly and Dennis change the tire once again because Seth is useless.
Yeah.
And Lacey takes Seth to see what they hit in the road.
And she's convinced it was her puppy before they even went back there to look.
And she has the gun now. So then Dennis grabs the tire and he gets a splinter from it in his finger. Splinter from the tire.
Just one.
And then he sees more of them on the tire from the animal they hit. I don't know. I guess he thinks it was a porcupine or something. I don't know. So then back to Lacey and Seth. They're at the dead animal, and Lacey keeps thinking it's her dog, but the dead animal moves on the road and it jumps at Seth. And Lacey,
it's flat. I mean, it's flattened. She hit that square on.
Lacey freaks out and shoots it with the revolver. Fires 2 shots at the thing. They run back to the car, and then splinters on the tire grow as they drive away.
Yeah, and there is a moment where just Lacey runs back to the car and Seth is standing there
True.
like, should he make a run for it,
He does. He wonders, should I?
to help,
Sure.
but he can't leave his girlfriend, so he
And
gets
she
back in the car.
refuses to leave him too, because they keep telling her,
Right.
go, go, go. And she just turns and looks at him like, I'm not leaving him.
Yeah. So just reestablishing the bond.
Lacey freaks out. Dennis takes the gun from her.
And this is where we establish that she is probably a drug addict and she's hallucinating. So she's trying to tell him that it was the dog, and he says you're high, and then that plays into
Or what
it
she
later.
saw and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The engine begins overheating because we did see it losing fluids earlier after they hit the thing in the road.
Yes.
They pull into the gas station that we saw earlier. And it's
Okay.
dark. This whole
Yeah.
thing takes place at night, except for the very beginning. It's
Yes.
daylight.
Hey, you're already halfway through the podcast. What do you think? If you like what you hear, can you take a minute and follow us on social media? At Scary Spirits Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thanks so much for listening. Now let's get back to the show. So I just wondered when the first convenience store gas station was built.
As many of us have wondered, I'm sure, Karen.
The world's first purpose-built gas station was constructed in St. Louis, Missouri in 1905 at 420 South Teresa Avenue. The second station was constructed in 1907 by Standard Oil of California, now Chevron, in Seattle, Washington, at what is now Pier 32. The first gas station convenience store was the result of a combination of events that took place in the 1920s and 30s. 1927, 4 ice stores in the Dallas area started selling groceries to increase revenue. In 1957, John Roscoe opened his first convenience store in
Or
Denver.
ice stores?
Ice stores, yes,
Okay.
in 1927. And then in 1964, he opened more. And so Denver was the mecca of convenience stores once they started opening. The convenience store concept was made possible by the growing popularity of automobiles and the need for more accessible shopping options. Early convenience stores stay open longer than other retails and were geared towards motorists. But so there's a fact here that says in 1913, the Gulf Refining Company opened the world's first drive-in gas station in St. Louis, Missouri. So what were the other stations? The one in Seattle and the one in St. Louis?
I don't know.
What were the gas stations? Were they for tractors or something? Like
I
what?
have no idea.
It's not very clear. But
I
as
think
more
it's
people,
like a drive-in, like you just, like maybe they served food too, like a drive-in.
I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe. I don't know, but it's not very clear. But anyway, it was 1905 was the first gas station. And then in the 50s was when they started really bringing convenience stores into it, just because more people were driving then.
Then Lacey goes to the bathroom.
And he accuses her of wanting to take a hit. So she throws everything at him, her purse and everything, and only keeps a tampon. And what's he going to say to that, right?
Right. So then Seth pumps the gas while Polly and Dennis go into the store to get engine coolant.
That's not going to help, though. Oh, well, I guess.
No, it's not going to help. It's going to help for a little while, unless they
'Cause
get a
it's
whole bunch
leaking.
of it and they stop and keep filling it. They could get some stop leak too. They might have that in the convenience store,
Okay.
automotive section. But that doesn't work real well in my experience, Karen. So then Lacey, she can't get into the bathroom. The door's locked or something. And she's
And that
mad.
really upsets her. She can't open. I think something's blocking the door. She can't get in. But why does she need to be in the bathroom?
That's her safe space.
I guess. Okay.
Go in there and
But we see
use her
that
tampon.
the tampon that she has, she starts, I don't know if it's now or a little later, it has drugs in it.
Yeah, she ends up opening it and taking drugs out of it. But Polly and Dennis in the store, nobody's deserted. Nobody's in there. Nobody manning the store. Eventually, Lacey gets in the bathroom and finds the gas station attendant in there covered with splinters.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah, she runs away and then she tries to tell Dennis, but of course he doesn't believe her because she's seeing all kinds of things apparently.
And his bones are breaking and bending and weird. The gas attendant that's in the bathroom.
So then the gas station attendant attacks Lacey. Dennis shoots him. Seth and Dennis run into the store with Polly. I wrote Lacey gone. I think he fires 4 shots, so that's all of his bullets.
From the pistol, yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened to her though? That's one of the places I couldn't tell what happened. Did the gas attendant guy put his hand through her gut or something? All of a sudden she fell over, she's dead. I'm like, no matter how many times I rewound it, I couldn't figure out. And when she does get into the bathroom, he says, kill me. Like he just wants to end it. But so he's still in there a little bit. He's not dead, but somehow, and he jumps on the car after he kills Lacey, and the rest of them run into the convenience store.
So in the convenience store, Dennis and Polly argue, and he pistol whips her or hits her with the gun or something.
Yeah, she taunts him a little bit.
Yeah.
And how's that working out for you and stuff like that?
She's a firecracker.
Yes, that's what he says. And he has noticed that the splinter in his finger, there's tendrils coming down his finger.
Are those the black lines coming down his finger?
So we're noticing
blood's infected.
We're seeing that a little bit.
Then Dennis steals the money from the register and he smokes a Marlboro, but actually it's a Parliament, I wrote.
And he also destroys the phone.
And it's a 100 too. He's smoking one of them long women cigarettes. Did you say he destroys the phone?
Yeah, because Polly tries to call for help.
So then he finds the video surveillance system and he watches the camera and he sees Lacey moving outside by the gas pumps and he believes that she is still alive. So he wants to go get her. So Seth tells Dennis that he'll watch the camera and if the gas station attendant, creature, whatever, comes and attacks him, they're going to lock the door and lock him out. I'm just going to tell you, here's what's going to happen. You can go out there, but if you do and you're attacked, we're locking you out.
And Polly's like, lock him out anyway.
Yeah. But they kind of know there's something weird's going on here.
They do. And Seth says he has a gun. He'll just shoot his way back, And she says, but I think he used all his bullets, but they're not 100% sure.
It's true.
So they can't lock him out necessarily.
I think he has used all his bullets.
I think so too, but I didn't count when it was happening. But he has a strong bond with his girlfriend. He really wants to go out and save her.
So he goes out, he tries talking to Lacey, and he begins dragging her body back to the door. And her hands are twitching and whatnot. And when they get to the door, Polly locks it, locks him out. So then Dennis pulls his gun and acts like he's going to shoot Polly through the glass. He begins counting down. Seth runs around and unlocks the door. And as he does, Lacey attacks Dennis. And he jumps in, but they shut the door and they sever her hand in the door. And then the hand begins moving on its own inside the store.
Yeah, and Seth is fascinated and can't keep his eyes off it.
I wrote, Dr. Seth is fascinated.
And I'm like, get away from it. Put it outside.
He says the hand is, I can't even say it. Metabolizing. Yeah. And he thinks the hand is feeding. And he compares it to a mold or a fungus, I guess. He says mold. And there's a bang on the door, startles everyone, Karen. And it's Lacey. She keeps smashing her head against the glass.
Dennis is traumatized by that. It's his girlfriend banging her head against the glass. It freaks him out.
Seth tries to convince Dennis that he cannot help Lacey. It's not her anymore. She gone. So then they try to go out the back door, but it's locked. Polly sends Seth to get the keys. Of course, the keys are missing. They're not hanging up there. The freaking gas station attendants probably got him out there. But Dennis tells her, you need to pop the hinges with the screwdriver. So she yells for a screwdriver. Seth comes with the screwdriver, and then they pop the hinges. And as they're doing so, Dennis reminisces about he and Lacey's plans. how
And
they're
there
going to
is
get
a
away.
fireworks sign right behind Seth's head while he's looking for all this stuff.
So they pop the hinges and get the door off, and there's an iron gate with a padlock on it on the other side of the door, so they can't get out anyway.
Yeah, and
I'm not even sure why if I would want to get out at this point, but
well, they're thinking whatever it is in the front, they can run, but they haven't really researched it that much yet. But Dennis is dazed. He's talking about Lacey and how they had plans and they were going to have a baby and it was going to be a girl. And, he's just
that's
traumatized.
just what they need, Karen, a
I know.
baby.
I know.
So then Lacey stops pounding on the glass and goes on the roof. So they all start to go out the front door, but when they get there, there's a sheriff there holding her gun at the door. Apparently, they've been looking for Dennis, or she recognizes him. Sheriff tries to tell Polly and Seth that you're okay now, you're okay now, I got it, but they're yelling at her to get back in your car, get away, get back in your car, run away.
But then Dennis says, and they're telling, call it in. You've got a hostage situation. Dennis
Yes.
says that he's trying to help now because, they're all besties, but they're all yelling at her to get in the car.
So she refuses to get in the car. She says she's going to call it in, but she uses the radio there that's pinned to her uniform or whatever. She's calling it in, but no one's answering. And then Splinter's following the sheriff. She's attacked by Lacey, is what I call her at this point, even though it's not Lacey anymore. And then she is ripped in two. She gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure why she was ripped in two, but she was. Because it's pulling her up towards the roof, but I don't know why her bottom half stayed down. But, it's gross.
Then Polly starts freaking out.
They all kind of do.
We pan up the blood streaks up to the roof. The windows are just covered with blood now. Pan up to the roof, and spikes begin to grow out of the sheriff. And then I wrote, Sheriff and Lacey meld together. Is that what they do?
I think that's what happened. At first I thought the sheriff just melded back together and then there were two of them, but I don't think that's what happened. No. So I think it's only
her
one.
legs are still down on the ground by the gas pumps. So then Polly wants to make a run for the car. Dennis tries to talk her out of it. He doesn't think they have a chance. But then Dr. Seth begins assessing the situation. And we see Dennis, he keeps looking at his hand where he got the splinter, his finger.
It's getting worse.
It is getting worse. And Dennis tells them that no one is coming even though the sheriff called it in. He said they're looking for him south, but he is heading north. So they're on the wrong trail. So then Dennis and Polly come up with a plan to light the woods on fire to bring help.
Yes.
And they used a dustpan to dump lighter fluid out the back door. And somehow, like Dennis from looking at the video surveillance can see the topography of the gas station and how the ground like goes away and into the woods out back or something like that. I don't know. That's kind of shaky, I thought. But then Seth tries to tell him, the fire is just going to come back into the building. It's going to follow the trail of lighter fluid.
Nobody listens to him. You got a better idea? He's like, well, no, not right now, but burning us isn't going to help. But they decide to do it anyway.
And then Seth hears the sheriff's radio outside the door, and they try to come up with a plan to get the radio. Seth has an idea to use coat hangers to get the radio, and he fishes the coat hanger out the night window to get to the radio. They have little windows where you can pass money and merchandise underneath.
Yeah, after hours, after the convenience store is closed, but the gas station's open. So they MacGyver it. They put together some hangers and some tape. And
I wrote, Dennis's hand is giving him problems, but he does give them an additional coat hanger so they can reach the radio.
Yeah, it's a little short with the two. They need another one.
So they hook the radio and pull it up the window. And I wrote, I don't think it's going to reach. Because they keep getting the shots of the cord stretching, it's like but he does get the radio to the window, or I guess I don't know what that is, the part you're talking to, I don't know. Gets the radio to the window, and the splinter thing comes down from the roof. It breaks the wire of the radio and puts its hand through the night window.
So why did it do that?
I don't
with
know.
our later information?
I don't know.
It shouldn't have been attracted to that. Because right now we're thinking it's movement, right? But later we find out it's not movement. Or is it both?
Maybe it can sense the heat coming from the night window. I don't know. But Polly whacks it with a baseball bat, and the arm breaks apart and goes into the store. Part of it does.
So now we've had two hands in the store, like
And
Cousin
then
It.
two of them.
No, it's not Cousin It. It's what's it called in the Addams family when it's
Thing?
just Thing.
So then Polly and Seth notice that Dennis is missing. Where'd he go? And they watch as the hand moves around the floor of the convenience store, and it comes after them. And Seth tries to block it with a wire rack.
Works for a little while.
Then Dennis pops out of the refrigerator and tells them not to let the splinter stick them. And then they run through the refrigerator door, where the soft drinks and whatnot are. And Dennis tells them to stay away from the door. He says it will forget they are there.
So the only thing I didn't mention that I didn't like, they're in the refrigerator. She's in a tank top and shorts. He's in short. They don't act like they're cold at all. There's no difference in their behavior from when they're in the refrigerator and when they're out of the refrigerator. You would think at least someone would say, wow, it's cold in here. I get it's not the freezer. I understand that, but still.
Or it feels good in here because it's like 93 degrees outside, apparently. We learn later, right?
Yep.
So then Dr. Seth, I wrote, further assesses the situation, and he compares the creature to a plant root looking for water. Dennis begins having issues with his hand. His hand has begun growing splinters, and he tells them not to touch him and to get away. But Dennis's hand has other ideas. And his arm breaks because the hand is going after them, but it's attached to him still, but it breaks at his elbow, it looks like.
Yeah, they bend in all kinds of gross, disgusting ways.
And then
in all of the people.
Then Dennis asks for a knife to cut his arm. Then he appears to pass out, but Polly and Seth decide to cut his arm off. Seth takes some plastic to create a tourniquet, Karen.
Yeah. Well, it's going to bleed like crazy.
But that ain't going to work. It's not even a proper tourniquet.
No, they need
tied some plastic around it. Whatever.
They need like a shoestring or something that's really going to be able to be pulled tight.
It's like they took a plastic grocery bag or something to tie it around, but whatever. And then Polly grabs his hand with a moving blanket, one of those big blankets that, to move furniture and shit. And
yeah, so
protect her from the splinters.
Yes.
And then Polly tells Dennis, it's okay. We're cutting your arm off.
With a box cutter. Hang tough.
With a box cutter. A box cutter.
Well, I looked it up if you could cut bone with a box cutter. And
with like a 1.5-inch blade exposed.
He gets through the muscle and tissue pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
You'd have to push it in there, though. Like, you gotta really...
You would.
Yeah. That was a gross... They did an okay job with that. It was gross.
Kind of game of the willies.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
But apparently utility knife can't cut through the bone. So...
No worries.
No worries. Hey, we got this cinder block here. We'll just prop his arm up there and use a cinder block for blunt force and snap his arm in two. Okay. But Dennis seems to be okay afterwards. I wrote. He tells them about the splinter from the tire and how it all started.
I know. I'm like, he's fine.
Yeah. And then they bond and share some Coronas, Karen.
Yeah. If we're going to die, we might as well die together. Polly's like, we're not going to die. How is he even sitting up and talking? He's walking around. Everything's fine.
Is Corona the best they can do there? Is that the best the grocery store has? So then Dennis tells them about his crimes and why the cops were looking for him. Apparently he shot a guy while stealing his semi, and
he was high on meth.
He decided when he was in the penitentiary, that if he ever got out, he was going to go to Mexico and use whatever money he could get to be sure that the trucker's wife was taken care of.
Yeah, because they went bankrupt because he snapped his spine and he didn't die, but he did die a year later. So they went bankrupt from the healthcare bills.
He's just misunderstood, Karen.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So then Seth hypothesizes that the temperature has something to do with the creature not being able to a, attract them in the cooler, or not being able to whatever
Find them,
find
track
them in
them.
the track
Yeah,
them in the
track them.
cooler. So then they leave the cooler and bang around on the floor and everything to see if the creature is still in the store. They're like, "Hello, anyone here? Anyone out here?" So then Seth goes to the video system and he replays the video footage, even though we don't see it, but apparently they do, and comes up with a hypothesis: the creature is attracted to heat. It went after the car instead of him, he said, as he's watching the footage. I wanted to see the footage. That bothered me. It felt like an easy way out there. So Seth believes that if he can keep his body temperature under the median temperature, which is like 93 degrees, that the creature cannot see him. Has to be below the ambient temperature. So then we see them packing Seth with ice to bring his body temperature down.
Okay, so he says he's going to get down to 89.6. According to most medical sources, the lowest body temperature a human can have without requiring immediate medical attention is around 95 degrees. Any temperature below this is considered hypothermia and requires medical intervention. Hypothermia is a condition where the body temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which can be dangerous and requires immediate medical attention. Signs of hypothermia, which is what he's having and showing: shivering, confusion, slurred speech, slow breathing, pale skin. So he's going below hypothermia, which isn't going to be good. And he at least, because I was thinking, oh God, they cut the guy's arm off and he's fine. So I'm thinking they're going to get this guy down to, 89 degrees and he's just going to walk out there with blue lips and be fine. But he doesn't. There are consequences to being too cold.
And then I wrote, Seth and Polly share a moment, cheesy dialogue and whatnot. So Polly lights fireworks and sparklers, basically, or whatever, and throw it out the back door to attract the creature.
Yeah, to the heat.
Seth tries to make his way to the police car, clutching a bag of ice to keep his body temperature low. And he has I don't know where they got this fancy thermometer, but I guess they had it in the store for something. So
Yeah.
he's got a thermometer and he keeps looking at the digital readout as he's going. Then Seth begins dropping ice.
Well, he can't really.
He's not moving very quickly, I wrote.
Yeah, he's having trouble.
And they show him dropping ice until it looked like the goo from the creature or whatever. And I thought, is that going to have something? But no consequence from that. Dennis then begins throwing more fireworks out the back door, but the creature does not appear. And he says, I can't see it. I can't see it. Seth makes its way to the car, but there are no keys in the ignition, Karen. He tries to use the police radio, but it doesn't seem to be on. And his temperature begins to rise.
And he's shaking, and it's hard for him to have control, muscle control. So all these things, I'm like, hurry, hurry.
Then the creature arrives. It's outside the police car, banging on the car. Dennis continues trying to draw it away with fireworks.
But doesn't he eventually set the butane on fire?
Yep. Next, Dennis goes out the front door with a sparkler or whatnot to draw the creature away. But then the creature gets into the store and goes after Dennis and Polly. They run to the refrigerator. Back outside, Seth tries to get the shotgun from the police car. And then out back behind the store, the firework lights the lighter fluid and flames rush towards the store.
But why doesn't the creature go to the fire? It's heat.
I don't know.
It should have been drawn. That was the whole premise, though. It's drawn to the heat. And then they set this big fire in the back, and the creature doesn't go for it.
What's in the store now? So then Seth goes into the store with the shotgun and shoots the creature several times. And the hand is in there too, that we had in there earlier. And it goes into the fire and then it dies. And Seth determines that they have to get the creature into the fire. They have to burn it. So then Dennis asks for the shotgun from Seth, and Dennis continues shooting the creature as Polly and Seth run away.
One-handed, because he has no other arm. He's fine. He's walking around shooting things with
he reloads it.
Yeah.
No problem, because there's plenty of shells attached to the shotgun. Then Dennis shoots the gas pump as the creature is near it, setting it on fire. And I wrote, Dennis has more splinters in him.
Yeah.
He's growing more splinters. So then Dennis takes the necklace off, and it's a bank deposit or a bank, what's it called?
It
Safety
is
deposit box or
safety
whatever.
deposit box. Yeah. Key.
Key. And it also has a little like dog tag thing with the address of the woman on it. He tells them to open it and give everything that's in there to that woman. Tells them to leave. He loads the shotgun again and shoots the propane tank storage locker. Gas station goes up in flames, including him.
Yeah, I thought he was just going to shoot himself, and I thought that's
I
not
did
going to
too.
work because, as we've seen, it's just going to rebuild him. But he's smart enough to know that, so he basically burns himself up.
Yeah. So then Seth and Polly walk away down the road.
And Polly's crying because he's dead, and they're walking. And I thought, first, I thought, why aren't they taking the police car? But oh yeah, they don't have keys.
Don't have
And
keys.
Polly doesn't know how to jump it. She knows everything else. She doesn't know how to hot wire a car. Come on, man.
I don't know.
But they're just walking down the road.
And then we cut to the forest and we see more spiky creatures in the woods.
My favorite kind of sequel. Dun dun dun.
Credits, the end.
You know, going over it scene by scene doesn't make it sound as good as it was.
No, because we're not nearly as dramatic, Karen.
It's so much more intense than we can describe it, I think. It's better than our presentation.
All right. I assume you don't have any comments on the drink because
I do not. If you don't have anything nice to say, and
Okay.
it's not about the drink.
You don't want to talk about how your wine evaporated or anything like that.
No, I do not.
Okay.
How I went out and bought it special and then it was gone. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
Well, you gotta keep it,
I didn't put my
stored
name
properly.
on it. Yeah, I did not put my name on it. So
That's pretty good. Like I said, I didn't really get the cream of the cacao, but I got lots of lemon and
lemon and chocolate is not usually something you mix together.
no,
So
probably not. I didn't really get any brandy, which might be a good thing. I don't know. It was more lemon and sparkling wine. What I got. I didn't even get elderflower, but I don't drink a lot of elderflower liqueur. That's my wife's thing, so I don't know. But it was good. I mean, I'd have another. Well, I already got a glass. I might make another. I already got the glass all rimmed.
it's all rimmed and pretty and ready to go.
I'll just turn it so I'll get fresh sugar and I'll be good to go. Good. It's not really a horror drink, but it fits the movie.
Well, I kept watching the movie thinking, I don't know where this drink goes. I don't know where this drink goes. I'm thinking, does somebody buy a Hallmark card or something? What's going to happen here?
No, it's because she's Miss Hallmark.
Yes, I didn't know that though.
Anything we learned today, Karen?
Not a whole lot. I mean, there's not a lot of
I made an Iron Maiden reference. I'm not sure anyone caught it, but I did.
Oh. Ooh, we should have a contest. We learned about body temperature and what you can survive. We learned about the history of Cape Cod potato chips and gas stations and convenience stores.
I believe I've had Cape Cod chips before.
I like them.
I believe I did too. Like the kettle chips, I think, specifically.
Aren't they all kettle chips?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not that versed in potato chips.
Don't know. All right, are we ready to move on to next week's film, Karen?
We are.
And what film have you chosen for us next week?
I have chosen the 1978 movie, The Eyes of Laura Mars.
Any reason you chose that film, Karen?
It's all about Faye Dunaway this week, or this coming week, who stars in the film and whose birthday was 2 days ago, I think. Is that correct? From when this comes out?
No. Faye Dunaway birthday is the 14th. So it'll be the day before our next episode comes out.
Oh, so I'm a week early.
No, you're
She's-
perfect.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Our next episode, The Eyes of Laura Mars, will come out on the 15th, and Faye Dunaway's birthday is the 14th.
Oh, so one day before it comes out, not two.
Yes. Jill Wagner's birthday is 2 days before it comes out.
No. I do have a drink.
Wasn't she? Hey, go on.
She's in Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, yes, that's what I like.
That's what most people know her from, I would think. This recipe is from silverscreensuppers.com, and it is called the Faye Dunaway.
Huh.
Did you see what I did there?
I did, Karen. Very,
Are you
very
following?
clever.
You're going to need 1.5
and
ounces.
delightful.
1.5 ounces of vodka, 1.25 ounce of fresh mango juice, 3/4 ounces lime juice, 1/2 ounce of agave syrup, 3 jalapeno wheels, 2 in the shaker, 1 for garnish. Seeds removed if desired, which I probably will, and 2 dashes of orange bitters. You don't know what seeds are?
No, what?
Jalapeno is?
Jalapeno wheel.
Well, you take the jalapeno and you slice it so it looks like a wheel. It's just a slice of
okay.
jalapeno, and not split down the middle, sliced like a wheel. And you get rid of the seeds if you don't want it too spicy. To make the Faye, simply muddle the ingredients listed here in a cocktail shaker, shake vigorously, and strain into a classic coupe. Garnish with the remaining jalapeno slice and prepare for your close-up. The Faye Dunaway.
Okay. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. That was her third film. She was very good in it.
I don't know if I've ever seen the whole thing. I've seen pieces.
Yeah. She played Joan Crawford in Mommy Dearest, but I never saw it. But
I've seen pieces of that too.
Yeah. Okay.
She's a photographer in this, so I kind of wanted to see.
Okay. I'm sure we all look forward to that, Karen.
Supposed to be good. I've been on a streak of picking horrible movies, so I'm hoping this one will be a little better.
Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
Let me think. Who should I thank? Oh, I know. How about our listener? There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thank you for spending time with us, especially since maybe you made a New Year's resolution not to listen to us anymore. You shouldn't have quit yet. You have a couple more days. It is official quit day, the second Friday in January.
Okay. So the 10th.
So what about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
People, I'm going to once again thank the people of the Keystone State.
Really?
Yeah, they went away for a while, but they're back, Karen. They're back with a vengeance.
Did they have a New Year's resolution? No.
I don't know.
It's not ready
Mississippi's not far behind them. Just saying. Weren't they the Magnolia?
They couldn't quit us. They just couldn't quit us. They tried, but welcome back.
And the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. Want to keep in touch? Check out our website, scaryspirits.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. Find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. To help us grow the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You know, we really do appreciate your support. And as always, please drink responsibly.